Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Extending Your Applications Apex with Autonomous Databases Features workshop. I hope everyone is doing well and staying safe. My name is Priscila Iruela. I am Database Business Development Leader at Oracle Digital, and I will be your guide and presenter for today's workshop. I am very excited to show you some innovative technologies that you can take advantage of to extend Apex using autonomous databases, including spatial, machine learning, and security. First, I would like to introduce some folks that are helping with today's workshop. You will see presentations from Bo English-Whitling, Director on the Apex Product Management Team, Jerome Klosterman, Product Strategy Manager for Oracle Direct, David Lapp, Principal PM on the Spatial and Graph team, and Juan Cabrera, Senior Solution Architect from Oracle Digital. We also have several panelists who will be answering your questions behind the scenes. Melanie is a Principal Sales Consultant, Ettore is a Head of Marketing for EMEA, Victor is a Principal Solution Engineer for Oracle Digital, and Steve is an EMEA Cloud Native Business Development Leader. And we have an army of solutions engineers as well, helping us with your questions. Here is the agenda for today. We will cover the introduction, spatial, machine learning, and security, which are labs 1 to 4. These 4 exercises will kick off with a pre-recorded presentation to give you the most info in the shortest amount of time as possible. And then you will get hands-on experience following each lab. We will spend about 2 hours together this morning for covering the 4 exercises. You may not complete all 4 exercises today. Don't worry. Please work on these exercises at your own pace. And we will hold other one of these sessions next month where you can ask additional questions or send us an email to any of the panelists or coordinators of the activity that we are delivering today. Before today's sessions, you were sent a registration email with prerequisites to be completed before the session today. If you have done it, great. If not, we will do that in today's session. But for checking this information, I would like to launch a poll to see whom of you completed the prerequisites. So you can see the poll right now in your screen. So if you don't mind to answer it, we are not sharing this information. It's just for us to deliver the session more gently for all of you. So don't worry, we will not share that. If you don't mind to answering, we have already a few people that answer the poll. Let's wait a few more seconds so we can get more people answering, please. That will be very useful. So we can adapt and adjust the flow of the presentation today based on how many people have done the prerequisites. Okay, a few more seconds. Just in case someone hasn't voted yet. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, everyone. So if you have questions, please post those in the Q&A section in Zoom, not in chat, in the Q&A, and one of our panelists will answer. Please remember to put all the information in just one question and include the region name, database version, the page, and a step of the lab guide, and any error message text so we can support you properly. And please remember to post it just in one question. Otherwise, for our panelists, it will be very complicated to realize which question and which message is from each question. Also, if you just want to remind everyone to please read carefully and follow every step in the lab. And please do not skim. Each step is required for your labs to work properly. If your lab is not working, please check to ensure you have followed every step first before posting a question. And again, do not skim. If you skim or you change the database name or the password, probably you will have problems in next steps. So please follow the steps as we post them in the guidance. Lab 1 is an introduction of autonomous databases. and covers setting up an ATP instance and a new Apex workspace. But first, we would like to share a little bit about Autonomous with our first presentation. It will be presented by Bob English-Whistling, Director, Product Manager for Apex. This video will take about 7 minutes, so see you live in 7.
Hi, in this workshop, we're going to cover what Autonomous Database is and how to extend Apex applications with some exciting new features that come with Autonomous. Let's begin with a quick intro on Autonomous Database. Autonomous Database essentially automates the database and infrastructure management so you don't have to spend time installing, securing, patching, tuning, and backing up the database. But before we even get to the database, there's the infrastructure and preparation of the hardware, installation of the operating system, and many more things that you've got to prepare. And with Autonomous Database, all of this is now automated. Not only does this save you time and money, but it also makes it more secure by removing human error. The journey of Autonomous Database has been an evolution, and Oracle's been improving the database and hardware over time. Oracle spent the last decade working on the database infrastructure with our engineered systems, introducing innovation and automation at the infrastructure level. You've probably heard of Exadata. It's our best performing, most available, and most secure architecture for running Oracle databases. An Autonomous Database is a combination of all of these evolutions, which includes infrastructure, database, and cloud. And since all of these are highly automated, in just a few mouse clicks, you can create and run databases, and everything is managed for you by Oracle. When you provision an Autonomous Database, you get a mission-critical database, which includes all of the advanced technologies that we previously mentioned. You get Exadata. The operating system is created for you. The database is automatically created. And it includes Active Data Guard, which creates a copy of your database in another region, so you can recover in the event of a failure. So running an Apex application on Autonomous isn't just about saving time. It's an upgrade to mission-critical database features that we previously used to only find in large enterprises. But now, everyone has access to all of these innovative features. Now let's talk about security. As new security patches become available, these are immediately applied while the database is still running and without any human intervention. So this prevents any delays, downtimes, and human error. Once your database is up and running, Oracle monitors the health of all the systems behind the scenes. Using machine learning algorithms, Oracle can detect and remediate any problems before they occur. And if any patches are required, these are also automatically applied. Again, all this occurs while your database is up and running. Autonomous also has various mechanisms which protects against failure. First, there are automatic backups. And then we protect against failures both within the scale-out clusters and other regions using Data Guard mentioned earlier. Should any failover happen, it will occur in such a way that your application will never notice. If you're in a situation where your Apex application suddenly requires more performance of the database, then you can easily scale up or scale down. This is, of course, one of the great benefits of the cloud. You don't have to purchase a big piece of hardware just to handle your peak workloads. You can choose when to scale up or let the database decide. So even that is automated for you. What this means is that you or your customer is only paying for the computing power that you really need. Now let's talk about the optimization of the database. Autonomous Databases uses machine learning to optimize database workloads. The Oracle database always had planned optimizers to improve query and DML performance, but even so, there was always work to be done for the DBA and application developer. Now, this auto-tuning goes even further because the database itself continuously manages things such as memory and parallelism. When you create an Autonomous Database, you can choose one of two types of workloads. There is Autonomous Data Warehouse, which is optimized for analytical querying. For example, one of the optimizations here is to have all of the data stored in columnar format, and most of the internal memory is used for parallel joins and aggregations, because that's the most efficient way for analytical querying. And then there's Autonomous Transaction Processing, or ATP. This is optimized for your daily operational applications. So here the data is stored in regular row format. And most of the internal memory is used for caching to avoid I/O and to get faster response times that operational apps typically need. Most Apex applications will fit into this transaction processing category, but we know that there are some folks using Apex primarily for reporting. However, in this workshop, we're going to focus on ATP. I mentioned already that Autonomous comes bundled and pre-configured with various features that were previously only available as add-ons or database options. Most of these were not visible to the end user. But Autonomous comes bundled with some features that can add functionality that are actually visible in your application. For example, you can leverage advanced security features to mask sensitive data such as credit card information. You can add geographical functionality to your apps using Spatial. You can even add machine learning to train models to make predictions and then integrate them into your Apex applications. So let's summarize how Apex and Autonomous works together. Both are built on the principle of saving you time so you can focus on more interesting things, not maintenance. Apex allows you to build applications quickly, and Autonomous Database is the same purpose by allowing Oracle to manage the infrastructure and database for you, which leaves you time for real innovation and application development. Once the app is delivered, you'll also save time that would normally have been spent maintaining the infrastructure and keeping the database running. Autonomous is also a great match if you're looking to use Apex for mission-critical applications and if your applications need to be more performant. If availability or failover is important, or if you're looking for a higher standard of security, this can be a great match. Last but not least, we can extend Apex applications with new functionality that comes bundled. And we will spend most of the time on these new features. Thanks for your time, and we hope you enjoy these labs.
Great. So you will see two bit.ly links on your screen. The first one is for those that haven't completed the prerequisites that we sent it in the email. It's basically the link to create and sign up for an Oracle Cloud free tier, where you will need to provide the email address, and we, on the flow, just type this email address in our chat or in the QA section, and we will provide you the information that you require for not being necessary to use your credit card. For those that you already completed the prerequisites, you can go to the second link or the QR code, and over there you have the guidance that we will follow this morning. Basically, for those that already completed, you can go directly to Lab 1. But before that, I would like to introduce Steve, that Steve will provide a quick demo on creating an Apex workspace. So Steve, over to you.
Thanks, Priscilla. Welcome, everyone. Okay, so I have the pleasure of kicking off the first lab. So very easy steps to follow, but I'm just going to walk you through it. So hopefully you all have an environment and you've all either signed up for the free tier or are accessing an environment that maybe your organization has. If you don't have an environment, then as Priscilla mentioned, you can follow the link at the top, free tier _8th of October, and sign up and get some access. What we're going to do is just kick off with the first lab. So all exercises can be found here. You can see it on the PowerPoint, but it's also in the chat, okay? So in the chat, there's a link that says Oracle _Apex _lab steps. I'm just going to click that now, and we shall kick things off. Let me share my screen. All right, so you should all see my screen, hopefully. And I'm just going to click that link in the lab. There we go. And it's going to take me into the labs that we have, okay? One thing to note when you're accessing the labs, the menu here on the right is sort of pops open the steps in the labs. You'll see that constantly. So as we move between the steps in the labs, you know, just click it, pops open the menu here, and we can start to select the lab that we're working on. So let's go for lab 1, create an workspace. So what I have here is another tab, and I'm just going to log on to my cloud account. So let me do that. Sign into my cloud. So hopefully you all managed to do this step and are sat quite happily looking at your cloud panel. What I'm going to do, because I'm on a Mac, I can actually put these things side by side. So I'm going to put the instructions on one side of the screen for me. Don't worry if you can't do that. You can just toggle between the instructions and the screen. Just try again. There we go. Right, so now I can easily follow the instructions on one side of my screen and perform them on the other. All right, so what we're going to ask you to do initially is to provision the instance for autonomous transaction processing, ATP as we call it, and then we're going to start Apex. Apex sits on top of ATP, so we need to finish the first step, get our database running, and then we can start at Apex environment. So let me walk you quickly through that, take a couple of minutes. So the first thing we need to do is go into our console, which we can see over here, and just pop open the menu. This gives you a list of all of the things that we can do inside our compute platform. Lots and lots of great toys to play with. But today we're going to spend most of the day playing with the autonomous transaction processing and Apex. So I'm going to select that one, which is shown to you in the guide here. Next thing it's suggesting that we do is to create the database itself. Okay, now I have 3 here already, but you can see there's a button here which allows me to create a 4th one. Or in your case, this should be empty and you're going to be creating your first one. So create the database and then follow the steps. Now, display name is Workshop. As Priscilla mentioned at the start, please do follow the naming for the databases and the usernames and passwords that we give you here. Most common issue that we find in these labs is people use a slightly different password, or they call it sort of not Workshop, but my first database or something like that. And then they get confused as we move through about logging in and so on. So please, as we mentioned earlier, Priscilla mentioned it, I'll mention it again, is use the ones that we give you in the guide. So you can see I'm just cutting and pasting them. So display name, database name, let's make it Workshop. It will default to transaction processing, so that's fine. Shared infrastructure is fine. And pick always free, and that will give you an always free database that we will never charge you for. 1 OCPU, 20 gigabytes of data. Do note the warning here that if you don't touch it within 7 days, we do reserve the right to stop that automatically because it is always free, and if you're not using it, we'll just stop it. And then if you don't touch it again after, say, 3 months, we may automatically delete it. But for now, absolutely the way to go, always free. Okay. I'm moving down now. Username, default username is admin, and I'm going to set my password here. Again, I'm going to copy the password from here. There are certain criterias for the password, so if you do set your own one, it might nag you that you haven't used the right sort of type of format of password. It's not the right length. You haven't used uppercase, lowercase, and so on. Obviously, our password here conforms to all of those things. Please do use our password. Again, the most common issue is people use a slightly different password, and then as we go to log in later on, there are issues because they forget them. And there we go. I'm pretty much done. And now I can hit the create autonomous database. I'm not going to do that because I already have a database called Workshop. So I'm going to break with protocol and just give it another name. So it can start to create a new database for me. There we go. And off it goes, and it will start to create the database. You will see it swap to the screen, and you will see a big orange sticker saying provisioning. Sit and wait. I did this earlier, just before we started the call. I timed it. It took 1 minute, 30 seconds to move from provisioning to the available status. I'm not going to sit here and watch it right now. I'm just going to go back to one that I created this morning when I was trying. So when it is finished, you will see Workshop and you will see it available. Okay. And that means that we're ready to move to step 2 to actually start our Apex workspace. So once it swaps to available, enter the application, and under the tools, you can see Oracle Application Express. Okay. So let me do that. Okay, it's going to prompt me for the password, administration services. We've given it to you again here, so you can simply cut and paste the password that we used earlier. And here we are, we're in the welcome screen, and it's prompting me to create that workspace. So let me do that. And again, please use the same credentials that we have here. Yes, we're going to use the same password. Please note that it is case sensitive here, so don't start mixing uppercase, lowercase, just keep it exactly as we've given it to you. Enter the database user, the password, workshop name, and hit create. All right, and we're good. Okay, so at this point you are hopefully sitting inside Application Express. We have created our first workshop. It enters as the administrator. So the last thing we need to do is just click at the top. Your workspace has been created. Sign out of the administration and sign into your new workshop. And here we go. Here's the username and password. If it isn't pre-populated, again, just put them in exactly as we've given them to you and sign in. Okay. Good luck, everyone. We shall, my session expired. I was talking too much. I'm going to hand it back to you. Please step through the lab, and it should take you sort of 5 minutes or so. I think we're going to give you 10 minutes. Is that right, Priscilla, to do the lab?
Yes, thank you so much,
Yeah.
Steve.
10 minutes.
So,
okay, good luck, everyone.
Thank you so much, Steve. So just a reminder, guys, remind to post any questions in the Q&A section, and one of our panelists will answer. This exercise, as Steve already mentioned, take about 10 minutes. So we will see you live in 10. All the best. Hello all, welcome back. If you did not complete lab 1, that's okay. Please work on your own pace and don't worry about that. I would like to launch a poll just to check if all of you could complete lab 1. Otherwise, the rest of the exercises will be difficult for you to be completed. So, Ettore, if you don't mind to launch the poll to see how many people have completed, will be perfect. Thank you so much. So guys, if you don't mind to check and to vote if you have completed or not. The first exercise is pretty straightforward, as Steve already demonstrated. Don't worry, because now we will move on and we will do the second video that is about spatial. So for those that haven't completed, you still have a few more minutes to complete it before we move on to the lab 2. So thank you so much for answering the poll. So then the next topic is spatial, and our next video will be presented by David Lapp, that is Principal Product Manager for Spatial and Graph. So the video will take about 11 minutes. So see you live in 11.
Hi, my name is David Lapp. I'm a product manager on the Oracle Spatial and Graph team, and I'm going to run through a quick overview of the spatial features of Oracle Spatial and Graph that you'll be including in your Apex workshop. Quick safe harbor, I'm really not talking about any futures here, so not a major concern. So the spatial platform as a whole is really all about having spatial features that are a built-in part of IT infrastructure in the Oracle stack, database, middle tier. Non-functional requirements, security, scalability, etc., are handled by the infrastructure. You don't have to deal with that separately, and we support the common languages that make application development simple. Our strategy on the whole is to have spatial capabilities across all the Oracle platforms. So we'll be focusing on database features. We have features in the big data platform, and our features exist across the Oracle Public Cloud, particularly the spatial database features on the database cloud service platforms I have listed here. The high view of Oracle Spatial and Graph features really boils down to the fact that we support storing natively all these types of spatial and graph types within the database, basic points, lines, polygons, points like address locations, lines like utility lines, polygons like sales regions, and then advanced features, tracking, network modeling, various graphs, 3D, etc., all in the database. And along with that, a series of deployable components or apps that you deploy to do map visualization, address geocoding, etc. This platform is uniquely open and interoperable, supported across the whole geospatial industry. The GIS tools, the ETL tools, the sort of engineering-related tools, open source, commercial, they all support our spatial platform. And the real essence of what this is about is, again, storing spatial data natively in the database, indexing it, and performing queries like we see below, where we want to find all the customers that are within, in this case, 10 miles of a hurricane path, using a basic SQL statement with a spatial operator. Nothing really new to learn here. It's just standard SQL that understands spatial. So taking a quick look at sort of some of the specifics, if we describe a table that has geometry, it's just another column in a table, and the data type is this thing called mdsys.sto_geometry, just our native geometry type. On the right, I can select a geometry. We can see what it looks like. It's just a built-in native object data type that has information, including identifiers to specify what type of geometry it is. Here, this is a two-dimensional polygon, and you can see the latitude, longitude coordinates that make up that shape. In this case, it's the shape of Aruba. We can start to do queries, like in this case, I want to find which facilities in a facilities table are located within a country's table, and in particular, which facilities are inside Belize. And this is just a simple query using an inside operator to give me the answer to that question. I can also do spatial queries where a location is defined at runtime by constructing a geometry on the fly. Here, what is the country from a countries table that contains a point that I'm just defining at runtime with a longitude and latitude. In this case, the point's in Mexico. This is the type of query where the location, this point runtime location, could be supplied in an Apex application by user input or a mouse click. So we can do these types of spatial queries with runtime as well. Those are the very, very basics around a couple of spatial operations, but spatial on a whole has a huge array of both general purpose and highly specialized spatial functions and operators, way beyond what you'll have time to look at here, but just know that our portfolio is really vast in terms of spatial analytics. It's also worth mentioning, especially from the development perspective, that the JSON features of the database are really inherited and extended with spatial, so that built-in JSON functions in the database, like JSON value, know how to return a geometry if that JSON is GeoJSON. And we also have convenience functions to seamlessly translate back and forth between GeoJSON and our native spatial type. So development dealing with JSON is seamless when it comes to spatial. Spatial also includes a map visualization component. Some of you may have heard of Oracle Map Viewer, which is what this is now called. It's feature and ships with Spatial, and it's a map server and JavaScript client for high performance map visualizations in web applications and in mobile. It comes with both the map server and the client, but also a map authoring tool to define map layers and styles to look and feel in a web-based administration console, and allows you to create just really nice looking, highly interactive web-based mapping apps. So putting all this together between the storage, the features in the database to store and analyze geometry, along with both your own and commercial map content from our partners like TomTom and here, along with the map visualization, map server, and client, you have a stack to easily create mapping applications. Those range from everything from just basic general purpose business applications with a spatial component for basic map visualization, geocoding, basic sorts of spatial analysis, through to advanced geospatial apps for city modeling using 3D and LiDAR, sophisticated multimodal routing applications, and so on and so forth. In addition, our spatial features are baked into Oracle products, our development tools, SQL Developer, of course, Apex, which is what this session is going to be focusing on, and I'll get back to that in a moment. But also our analytics cloud platform, Oracle apps like our utility applications, our transportation management applications, and our mobile apps. Another new feature of Oracle Spatial is something called Spatial Studio. Traditionally, access to spatial features was through coding, SQL, PL SQL, etc., and web-based coding. Spatial Studio is our self-service sort of casual business user tool to access those spatial features. So it allows you to connect to spatial data, prepare data with geocoding and coordinate indexing if it's not already spatial, do spatial analyses, share your work, create a map visualization app, and share it. Very simple self-service. So again, allows you to handle access and preparation of spatial data, create projects to be able to visualize and share your results. In your Apex spatial exercise, the polygons and regions you're going to be dealing with have been prepared to allow you to look at and interact with them in Spatial Studio. So you're going to see this. So to conclude, I just want to point out where this rubber meets the road with Apex. So a few things. First of all, because this is just SQL and PL SQL APIs and operations in the database, you can include all kinds of really useful spatial functionality within regions in your Apex app just by adding spatial to your SQL. Things like containment, which locations are inside or outside of a region, what's the nearest, et cetera, et cetera. And spatial calculations like distance and length and so forth, you could just include via SQL. You can also leverage the built-in Apex spatial package to perform routine metadata management functions. Spatial data, when you are going to create and persist it, requires some spatial metadata to be created, and this built-in Apex package makes that really easy, as well as doing handling the construction of basic spatial objects that you'd want to persist and maintain. So that's a convenient function that's built into Apex. And then finally, I encourage you to install the sample geolocation showcase, which is one of the bundled apps in the app gallery. And that has a lot of great stuff, including a series of Oracle supplied spatial and mapping plugins, as well as examples of pages that show all kinds of spatial analysis and map rendering. Finally, I'll just mention a few resources. Our product portal on oracle.com. We're pretty active in blogging. Our forum, which is where you can ask questions and sort of hear what other people are asking about. And finally, our communities. So I hope you are encouraged here to carry on and learn more about spatial, and in particular, the way spatial can be used within Apex. Thanks.
Hello again. In this exercise, we will focus on adding Spatial to your Apex application. If you would like to follow along, Victor will be providing a quick demo on adding Spatial to your Apex application. If you do not wish to follow along, please follow the instructions in the video link for Lab 2. Victor, over to you.
Thank you so much. So I'm going to start sharing my screen really quick. Thank you, Priscilla, and hello, everybody. I'm going to go through the Lab 2 with Add a Spatial. So basically, this one is a really fun one. I'm going to just walk you through the steps that you have to do, but basically, the step that I'm going to do with you is the import an Apex application. That is something that you are going to do in other labs as well in today's session. So it's really important for you to pick the ideas. No need to say it. Don't skim anything and try to use the names that we use. It's not a big deal, but it will make you move faster. And I want you to finish all the labs in today's session. So let's go with step 1. So it's import an application. In this link, you can download the application. It's going to be a SQL script that contains all the application that you are going to use, plus some data. So I already download this, but you click there, that will download the file, and that is something that you will use in the next steps. So I'm going to do the the rest of the steps in my ATP instance. So this is my web console. This is something that you are going to do several times. So go to autonomous transaction processing on the menu if you are not already there. Select your autonomous database. Mine is not always free, but in this case, it's going to work the same way. Very good. And now here, you go to Tools, and we have Open Apex. Let's click there. This is going to ask me for login. I'm going to use the workspace name, the one we picked from the lab, workshop ATP, and the user is the same, and then the password that you took from the lab steps. Login, and then you are going to see Apex, and we are going to build an application. We are actually going to click here in App Builder. Then we are going to import. We are going to import our file. So click in Import. Now choose the file. There is many options, but at this moment, there is nothing to change. I have this already downloaded. So F105 SQL, that is the one. Load it. Now we can click Next. It's going to walk you through the process to install the application. So file import and confirmation, that's fine. That's the one I want. Install database application. So it's going to do all the schema and so on. Install application. And it's going to take just a few seconds, and we will have our application up and running. This is something I believe you have to do in Lab 4. So I will walk you through that in just a few minutes, but you click Next, and you have to see the final confirmation. Install. We are installing the supporting objects, and that is it. Then in the next step, it's asking you can either run the application, but in the lab, it's telling you to edit the application because I want you to show you something. So this is the point where you can continue with the lab, and just good luck with everything on this lab. It's so much fun, so enjoy it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Victor. Just as a reminder, guys, please remember to pose your questions in the Q&A section, and one of our panelists will answer. This exercise will take about 20 minutes, so see you live in 20. Enjoy the exercise. Hello all, welcome back. If you did not complete Lab 2, that's okay. Please work at your own pace. Don't worry about that. The next topic is machine learning, and the next video will be presented by Jerome Klosterman, Product Strategy Manager for Oracle Digital. This video will take 7 minutes, so see you live in 7.
Hi there, my name is Jeroen Kloosterman. I'm a Product Strategy Manager for Oracle Digital, in particular for analytics and machine learning. The autonomous database contains a machine learning engine. It's already there, no need to install anything, it's ready to go. And this engine offers a great opportunity for many Apex applications, for existing and new ones, because many Apex applications are sitting on a potential wealth, a goldmine of data that we could be doing a lot more with. In this lab, we're going to take an existing Apex application and then make it intelligent by adding machine learning to it. We'll go through the theory first, so you have the right background to be able to complete the exercise. The appeal of machine learning is that it can make decisions as good or sometimes better than humans can. It also means that we can automate decisions, or at least use the output from machine learning as recommendations for humans to make the final decision. And there are many use cases for machine learning in practically all industries and functions, and on many different kinds of data. So to give you some inspiration, if we start on the left side, if your Apex application is dealing with customers or prospects, we can use machine learning for marketing purposes. For example, to recommend what products to offer to each customer. If you have an Apex application in HR, you could identify the employees that are at risk of leaving. Or if your Apex application deals with manufacturing processes, you can extend it by recommending which machines are likely to fail and therefore need maintenance or replacement. So the point here is that if you look, you're very likely to find a use case where machine learning will improve your application in some way. So what is machine learning? What's new? Let's compare it with traditional programming. And in traditional programming, if you want a computer to reach a certain objective, you will write a set of rules as a human being, and the computer will simply execute those rules or steps to reach the objective. But with machine learning, you're no longer going to explicitly program the computer what to do. Instead, you're going to let the machine learning algorithm find out what are the steps to reach the objective that you've set. So let's apply this to the exercise that you will do later. Here we have a company that's selling various different products. They have a particular product called Y-Box Games, and it's been sold to some of their customers already. They would like to sell this product to more of their customers, and their question is, which customers are likely to be interested in Y-Box Games? They don't want to offer the product to a customer that's unlikely to want it, and they don't want to waste money and time on a marketing effort that's not going to have any effect. This company has a certain amount of information on all of their customers. For example, we know their occupation, we know their level of education, we know which other products they bought, and of course we know which ones already have Y-Box Games and which don't. Our suspicion is that there must be some relationship between all of these data points on the left and Y-Box Games ownership. It's really difficult for any person to find out what that relationship is. And that's the reason that we cannot answer this question with traditional programming. You can imagine that you would be able to find out what to do with 2 or 3 input variables. But if there are many, the task quickly becomes difficult to impossible. So how does machine learning solve this problem then? We're going to look at a particular group of machine learning algorithms called supervised learning. And the way that these supervised learning algorithms work is that you train a model from example data. In our example, let's imagine that some customers have been offered Y-Box Games in the past. Some of them bought, some didn't. So here you see that on the right side, the ownership of Y-Box Games, which is the target value, the output value that we're trying to predict. And all the columns to the left, and some I haven't shown here, are input data. So they are possible influencers on our target value. This is historical data. We have both the input data and the correct corresponding target values here. And these combinations are perfect example data to use for training. So in supervised learning, we split the problem into 2 phases, training and prediction. In the training phase, the algorithm goes through the example training data and finds all the relationships between the input data and the target, no matter how subtle these relationships are. And from this, it will construct the model. And the model is basically an understanding of how input and output are related. And the second step is the prediction. Here we only feed in new input data, and the prediction process will run that input data through our model and then come up with the predicted value. In our case, the predicted value for Y-Box Games ownership. So now you know the principle of supervised learning. Let's talk about the exercise. You're going to upgrade an existing Apex application with machine learning. So imagine our fictitious company again. They are using this Apex application to support their customers. And every time a customer calls, the employee will simply look up the details of the customers in the Apex application. Now, our goal is to upsell Y-Box Games to our customers. So we want to alert our employee whenever he or she has a customer on the screen where they have a good chance of success. In practice, this means that we want to add a column on the screen that shows whether it's a good idea to try to upsell to this customer. And this is where we want to add this column. In your exercise, you will first review the existing customer service application. Then you will train a model and make the predictions for all customers. You will use a tool called the Zeppelin, which comes included in the autonomous database. And you'll be happy to hear that training models and running your prediction can be done with PL SQL and SQL. So you already have most of the knowledge. you'll write this code within the Zeppelin tool. Once we're done with that, we'll integrate those predictions in the Apex application as a recommendation for the employee. So then the employee knows when it makes sense to offer Y-Box games to the customer that he or she is speaking with. Good luck with the exercise.
Hello again. In this exercise, as Jeroen already explained, we will focus on adding machine learning to your Apex application. If you would like to follow along, Steve will be providing quick demo on adding a Spatial to your Apex applications. If you do not wish to follow along, please follow the instructions in the bit.ly link for Lab 3. Steve, over to you.
Thanks, Priscilla. Yeah, super cool workshop, this one. I absolutely love this one. I think we just saw a great introduction to what we're doing. So I'm not going to go through it in detail. I'm just going to show you some of the key things just to get you going. So let me share my screen. All right. So if you've never done machine learning before, this is it. You're going to do it for the first time. If you have done it before, you're going to experience how easy it is to do it inside Oracle's database. So hopefully you can see my screens. Here I am in the lab. So, go to your lab screen, lab number 3. Here's your list of databases that you've started. So please go into your workshop that you are working on. And then what we're going to do is we've already pre-built an application for you. The one you're going to manipulate. It has a lot of data in it. Obviously, machine learning needs quite a bit of data to try and make the suggestions for you. So we're going to talk you through how to set that up, how to import it into your environment, your workshop environment, and then start to obviously play with the algorithms that we have. So what you need to do is obviously go to your workshop. I'm just going to pick an empty one here. You're going to pick the workshop one. And obviously you're going to go into Apex. So we've been doing this all the way through, and I'm just going to drop into Apex because the first thing we want to do is import our application. Okay. In the instructions, as that's just going to the login screen, you'll see right at the top, click this link to download the application. If you click on that link, it will download the F100 SQL application. All right, so you have your file. You're going to just log into your workspace. Workshop ATB. And then we're going to just import the file that we just downloaded. Okay, so again, showing me clearly the instructions. App Builder. Within App Builder, I can create or import. This time we're going to go for import. It's taking a second to refresh my screen. I think Zoom is taking a lot of my bandwidth right now. Try it again. There we go. Not create, but import. Choose your file. Don't need to alter the radio buttons. Just choose your file. In my case, I'm just going to drop into the downloads, and there it is, ready for me to import. Okay. Then just go through the steps. Select the defaults, and you will import the application. Right, once we have the application imported, I'm not going to go through all of the steps for the import right here. You're going to come back to your main administration dashboard, because the other thing we need to do is create this user, machine learning user. So step 2 talks you through that. I'm going to come into the dashboard. I'm going to click on the open user admin. In my case, I've been in here before. If you haven't been in before, it won't prompt you to log in, I don't believe. But if you have been in before, it does prompt you to log in. I need to use admin as my username. And then I can go through the steps to create my new machine learning user. Okay. All right. Once you've created your user, just following the simple steps we have here, you will create your notebook, which is where you're going to do a lot of your work. And then finally, we're going to start to manipulate the results that you're seeing inside your application so that you see the prediction. Now, I'm not going to go through the whole lab here because it will take me quite some time to do that. But I think we've given you enough to get started. Download the application, import it into your Apex environment, set up that first user, a machine learning user, by coming back to the dashboard and hitting that create button there to create the user. And you should be good to go. All right, I'm going to hand it back to you, Priscilla. Let's get everyone working. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to put them on the Q&A and we will help you through the lab.
Thank you so much, Steve. So this exercise should take us around 20 minutes. So see you live in 20. All the best. Hi again, guys. I know you have a few less minutes than overall when we do this security exercise, but we are almost at the end of the hour, the 2 hours. We don't want to take more of your time. The environment will be open for you. You have the always free account set up, so you can spend as more time as you want doing these exercises. You have the links, and here you have all our emails. So thanks again for attending our Extending Your Application, Apex Applications with Autonomous Database Feature workshop. We will launch the last poll on your screen. Please let us know how you thought of this, what you think about the workshop. I would like to thank all the collaborators listed in the slide. You will also see some links where you can find additional information, and please follow us on social media. You will get the recording of this session in a few days. Marketing will provide you the links, and then you will have there all the information. And also, if you did not finish all the labs today, as I already mentioned, please work on those in your own pace, and we will answer any follow-up questions in the future sessions or send us an email. Thank you so much for your time with us this morning, and we hope you enjoy, and we hope to see you soon in next events.